Hello and welcome to the Narrowboat Serafina. In today's episode, things don't go according to plan. I moved Serafina north on the Grand Union from Berkhamsted to Dudswell. While there, doing a regulation battery charge, I discovered that the batteries were not accepting that charge. Rather than believing something sinister was at play, I tinkered with the BMS system, believing they were at fault. After accepting that the BMS was not at fault, I found my trusty multimeter and began looking for the fault elsewhere. It didn't take long to diagnose that the port side alternator was not generating any current. Let me take a brief moment to unpack my electrical power system. My main propulsion is a Beta Marine 50 horsepower engine with a parallel electric drive. Well, what does this all mean? Beta provides the main propulsion, and the hybrid marine electric engine provides propulsion when I choose not to run the Beta, meaning that I have a rather large battery power bank to supply the hybrid marine with electrical power at 48 volts. To generate power for the battery banks, I have twin 60 amp 24 volt alternators. The battery bank is made by combining 24 2 volt traction battery cells, which are connected in series and then parallel to create a 48 volt output. This 48 volt supply is hooked into my inverter, which converts DC to AC, allowing me to power my AC devices. The leisure batteries are charged through a Phoenix charger running from the AC system. What was happening was that the starboard half of the main battery bank was being charged, but the port side was not. Adding to my confusion was that there was a negative amp reading coming from the BMS. I was losing current even when the batteries were not in use. So the solution was simple, or so I thought. Replace the alternator like I did last year. But after contacting Beta Marine, they told me, due to the current world crisis, the alternator that I was after was embargoed through sanctions, but they had a solution. And that's where our tale begins. Hi there, good morning. Is Wayne available, please? Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we're on our way over. So we're about an hour and a half away. Yeah, cool. No, look, you can tell I'm so anxious about all of this, so, it is what it is, and, you guys have been brilliant so far, so, we'll deal with it when you get round to it. Perfect, we'll see you in a bit, Wayne. Getting close to our destination. Beta Marine is just over there on the other side of the traffic circle. Right, here we are. Well, I'm slightly nervous about this encounter. I'm not sure how difficult or easy this is going to be. So let's go inside and have a look at what I need to modify the engine bay. Suffice to say, I'm rather worried about this little exercise, as I've got to lift the engine off its engine mounts. Right, so the challenge that we have is that rail needs to be placed underneath the engine and then secured back onto the hull. We've got 3 fixings aft. And we've got further fixings underneath, which I have no idea how I'm going to get to. It's all Allen key. I don't have that size. Maybe I do. So I'm going to have to lift the engine. That in the block. Not too worried about the trigger poking there. So it looks like I'm going to have to lift from there Man, this is going to be a challenge. I've got the fixings down there for the alternator bracket. And those, we've got one going through there and one going through there. Take careful note of the spaces, because it's all about aligning the belts. Wow, this is going to be a challenge. Right, so we're in the car on the way back at the moment, trying to discuss and figure out how we're going to lift Serafina's engine so we can attach the main, I suppose, big bracket that needs to...
It's the bottom rail.
The bottom rail that holds everything together.
So basically we didn't know that we've got to lift the engine, and now that's evidently what was going to happen.
We're going to try and get to a tool hire place to see if they've got a block and tackle that can help us lift. That's the key to installing the whole new alternator setup.
But to lift the engine, you got to get everything out of the engine bay. You got to decouple the prop shaft from the gearbox. You got to pull back the propeller and the prop shaft before you even start to look at how to actually lift the engine up.
So this is going to be fun and games. So, wow.
We see if we can get to the tool hire place before it shuts today. That's the plan.
Tool hire place shuts at 5. It's now 1:45. We've got at least an hour and a half on the road before we get back to Berkhamsted.
Well, I need my lunch. That's going to take up an hour.
Oh well, I've got to feed him lunch. Right.
So where are you now? Donkeys. You've got to turn around. What way are you pointing? North.
We're going to shift.
Shit.
Swing it cow roast and put the 7 locks down.
What? Got plans this afternoon?
Yeah, block and tackle.
Shit. Okay, you might have to get up to the crack of dawn tomorrow and get it down the Burco. We've got tomorrow to work out how to move the engine, and then Sunday to move it, and then Monday to put the stuff back in. You might have a chance of getting it done.
Yeah. There's also the other hard reality of power. Having power on the boat.
To do it?
Well, no, just electrical power, just to...
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you could always use my stuff for that.
Yeah. Right, so you join me back on the cut, just outside Cow Roast. Well, it's been an adventurous day so far. We've worked out that, sadly, the parts that have been supplied by Beta Marine won't fit the engine that I've got, and I'll show you why. It's basically got to do with the hybrid setup that I've got, because there's a hybrid engine, electric engine, parallel hybrid engine bolted onto the back of my engine, and the bottom bracket that they gave me did not take this into account. So got to come up with another solution. Right, so I think it's going to be some night cruising tonight. Not often done, but I'm going to join James, Marlon and Dan down in Berkhamsted again this evening. There's 4 brains working out the problem, better than 2. There you go, going into Cow Roast, top lock, one before summit. So So the plan is this evening is to get some water and all of the little pieces that I need to make sure of, dispose of some rubbish, just do as much utility stuff while I'm near the facilities, and then spin around and head back down. Right, so alternator power update. It's now Tuesday, 9 days after I first encountered the challenges with regards to getting no current onto my batteries. I've tried all kinds of solutions, and hopefully today's solution is going to work. I visited Simon, who has a alternator shop up in Aylesbury, 15-20 minutes away. He has refurbished the old alternator, and I've got to say a really big thank you to Simon, because without him I think I would be seriously stuck. I've got to give a big shout out to a load of people, including Sweary Dan, who has helped tremendously with loaning his generator, so I've been able to power the boat for the last 10 days. But right now it's time to get the engine covers off and take a deep dive back down into the engine and put the alternator back on, wire it all up correctly, and make sure that all of those fixings are secure, and fire it up. But as with any electricals, when you're working on them, you need to remember to isolate. So I will be turning off and taking out the isolation key from the batteries to the generators. I'm going to do a power reading or a voltage reading on those cables to make sure that there's no more voltage going through, and then I shall isolate the rest of the boat, that there is no power being used. So I'll just walk you through those steps. I was hoping to put you onto my helmet cam this afternoon, but I seem to have lost my helmet strap, so misplaced it. So I'm going to try and put this in as quickly as possible, and hopefully the weather cooperates with me. Right, so those are my battery meters. So that's my 48 volt system. There you can see it's reading 87%. Never take a percentage as a true reflection of what the battery state is, merely a guide. You can see that it's got 45.68 volts reading through the battery terminal now, which is very low. Charge voltage is 5205, so it's really quite low. It's only got 1.7% or 1.7 volts to drop before it hits my minimum voltage, and I won't be able to use anything. As you can see, with nothing running, it's drawing 0.92 amps, and that's basically what's been happening right the way throughout. So without that alternator, I'm sure it's the fact that the alternator's got diodes which restrict the passage or direction of current. Without those connected, I'm losing 0.92 amps, which is fairly significant when you've got no amps going back into it. Right, so next stage is to isolate everything, to make sure that I've got a safe space to work. Right, so my main isolator for the batteries is located in this cupboard. I'll try and take you in there. It's just over here. So all I'm going to do is flick that out, take the key out, and I know it's isolated, and that there's no chance of me accidentally connecting it all up. Next stage is to find the multimeter and take some readings of the alternator cables to make sure that the charge has dropped sufficiently for me to go in there. Right, so I've got my trusty multimeter, turn it on to measure 24 volts, and now I'm going to just take a deep dive. Well, not deep dive, I'm just going to do the battery readings, or the readings of the batteries of the alternators, to make sure that those voltages are dropping. There will still be voltage in those live and negative cables, but you will see they will drop, and that will show that there's no current coming back or no voltage coming back along that route. Right, so hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. I've got my red and my black, taking it to the alternator that's working, attaching it to, and you can see it's reading 19, 13, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0 volts. So that's telling me that there is no current or voltage in the cables. So those showing that there's no voltage in the coming back from the batteries, so I'm safe to proceed. But safety, safety, safety first. I'm going to just open up this cupboard. You can't see, but I'm just turning off all of the everything coming through. So the the inverter's turned off, leisure batteries are turned off, and the main battery to charge the engine has been turned off. Right, so the area that I need to get to, where the previous alternator was, is down there. So as you can see, what I did was to take the live and the negative and just put them into 2 in case terminals to stop any stray currents from touching anything. You didn't want live wires touching anything to short the circuit out. So I'm going to dive in there, start cleaning a little bit of space up for myself to work. You can see how small the gaps are that I've got to work with. The belts are all in front, coming off the main flywheel, so it doesn't really, I don't have a lot of space. I'm on my knees at the moment, and I'm going to have to bend over in quite some serious stress positions to get into those areas to start tightening all of the nuts. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. But I got it out. I'll get it back in. Right, first job is to get the belt off the top side, the starboard side alternator, which I reattached after taking the port side alternator off. So that's going to be a bit tricky, lots of things in the way, but I've got my spanners out, and hopefully now that I know what I'm doing more or less, it should be quite a lot easier. Right, let's go down. Right, so if I remember correctly, it's an 18 and a 19 spanner that I need. I've got to loosen that nut if you can see it, and then there's one right underneath there that needs to be loosened at the same time, so I can get slack onto that belt, so I can loosen it and take it off. Right, let's get to it. My 18. I think I'm going to put some gloves on, otherwise I'm going to lose more skin off my hands. And I need to get to that baby down there. So we'll put a change. And I'm on my knees trying to get to this. So this is. There you go. You can see the tension taken off the belt. So that should start releasing now. There we go, that should be enough. Okay, there we go. That's the belt off. That's a new belt. Remember, I replaced that a while ago because that belt shredded. Doesn't sound like I had much fun in November with alternators. Always seems to be a time of year that everything goes piton. Next step is to get the refurbed alternator and start trying to place it into its housing, which is going to be slightly more challenging. There we go, that's a refurbed alternator. It will sit through the engine chassis bolts over there, and that's the tensioning lever that will give me the tension on the belt. So I've got to get that down into its housing and try and get this M10 nut through so I can start tightening it up. And it sits underneath the alternator, so it's going to be rather challenging. Let's get you out of the way. Right. Well, those all connected to. Let's try and get as many out the way as possible. So I think I've managed to get some space. That's where I'm trying to aim for. Down there. Okay. So let's see if we can find it. Let's get the nuts prepared. Make sure that everything is within grasp. Well, let's talk you through what I've got to do first and show you the parts. This is part of the tensioning arm of the alternator that I'm going to have to put in, and that, yeah, I can't quite explain how it works because I don't have all the other parts, but I've got to try and remember. Alright, let's dive again. So alternator, there we go, here's my M10. Now let's see if we can be slightly clever and pre-feed this down. Actually, you guys are in the way. I'm going to have to find a new spot for you. Bear with me. So let's try and find a position that I can actually fit into the engine with. Right, it's going to require me lying on my stomach somehow. Right, so I was going to try and pre-position this one, didn't I? Let's feel how that one was. Now I don't want to drop anything down here, because that's just going to be a real pain to try and retrieve. Okay, so here we go. Here goes nothing. And it's bloomin' heavy. Why are you not? Sorry I seem to be silhouette all the time, but hopefully I can sort that out in post. Right, that was done. Managed to get that through. Sorry, you guys were in the way, so I had to move you out the way. So I don't know if you can see. So I've got the main fixing bolt through. So I've just got to nut it now. So I've got to take that out. And that is threaded. Okay. make sure that aligns. There we go. Okay. Now that fits through there. Okay. Now you go through that fixing. I'm sure. Right. Okay, so you fit over there. That's my spacer. Okay, right.
Hi mate.
Hello, hello.
How are you getting on?
Yeah.
Huh? How long have you been on it?
A while. I've got it in. So.
You just got to get it all.
No, I've got to just put all the brackets back together.
Yeah.
And remember how it all worked, and everything went together, and try not drop anything into the bottom of the bilge, because this is a bit of a tricky one. I've got to put this one back with a spacer. Okay. Oh, good, it is threaded. Oh, that's good to know. Right. I might have done this the wrong way around. Right, part of the bracket on. Though I think I've cocked that piece up.
What was up with it?
What was up?
With the alternator? Or did they not tell you?
What was up with the alternator? That's a very good question. Maybe I should answer that question. Right, everybody there, Sweary Dan. Sweary Dan, say hi.
What's that?
So basically what had happened, I guess, is there was an earth fault leakage.
That's what was where all that current was going in, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. So it had an isolated non-return on the alternator, and it goes through an M5 bolt, and he reckons that the M5 bolt is too thin a diameter to take the earth return
It's been
out.
alright for fucking over 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, but so it basically, well, it melted.
Yeah, okay. So has he upgraded it?
So he's put a new volt regulator on. He's
Put an M8 on?
No, he can't put an M8 on because of the make of the alternator. So, but he assured me that this one will be running up until the brushes give up.
Right.
So he's.
And what happens if the brushes give up? Can they redo that? They
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
they?
Then they can redo the brushes.
Oh, fair enough.
So.
Yeah, well, there you go then, yeah. At least you're getting your hand in it, getting them on and off.
I'd say something sweet and loving at this moment, but I'm not.
Well,
So-
look, mate, talking about, I'll pity you, right, but you'll probably pity me in a minute when I tell you where I'm going to be going in the next hour. I'm going to go tonight.
Where are you going?
Devon.
Oh, you're going Devon. Sweary Dan's mom's not very well at the moment, so we wish her all the best.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to Devon. Yeah, get that. So I'll be there first thing in the morning for my mum, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what time are you leaving? About 3 in the morning.
Nah, I'll leave here just as soon as the traffic starts to die down.
Okay.
So I'll get there tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try and crack on,
Yeah, you crack on, mate.
and hopefully within an hour or so we can go and have a beer.
Well, that's if I'm still here. Wait and see.
We'll always wait and see. Otherwise, I'll have to
Right,
drag.
mate, hopefully in another hour we'll be talking about it, yeah?
Yeah. Cool.
Right, mate.
All right. We'll see you in a bit. Right. Okay. So I've sort of explained what was wrong there. Right. So my mistake was I should have fed that bolt through the alternator before I threaded this on, because I won't get it on at the moment because that's threaded through the spacer. So I've got to be really careful doing this again and not lose any bits into the bilge, because the only time I will see those is if I lift the engine. Right, okay, so swing the alternator up and push that through. Out the way, cable. Okay. Right, move over the spacer. Right. Right, okay. Okay. Right. So we can sort of say that the alternator is now in position. I'll take you down in a second just to show you. And the great thing is, I left all my flippin' Allen keys in the bathroom, which is a bit of a pain to get to. Right, so, I'll try and take you for a walk into the engine. Sorry, this is not cinema lighting, but one of these days maybe we'll get some studio lights, who knows. Right, so down into the engine we go, and hopefully I can find a place where you can see stuff. So, there we go. That's the alternator in place. I've got a hand's width behind the camera, so not very much. And I'll try and move the light so you're not blinded. Right, okay, got the light. So there we go. That's it in position. So now I've just got to fix the cables, all the nuts, tighten everything up. It sounds easy, doesn't it? But remember, down there is that nut that the nut and bolt that I've got to tighten. I have no idea as to how I'm going to do that right now, but we'll figure that out. I got it out, so got to get back on. So before we forget, let's put some fasteners on. So there, right, watch my trousers, would let go. So that's over there with a spring. Okay. With my nut. Okay. Slightly finger tight. And this boy. This nut is the tension nut. Oh, great. It will fit in there. Right. Good thing is I don't have any pieces left, which is good. Right. Okay. Wrists are feeling quite sore now. Let's go retrieve the lights. I wish I could remember which was the exciter circuit. So I guess the first thing to do is to actually put the belts back on. So okay, that's one belt on. Woohoo! And your you're not going to play games, obviously, are you? 2 belts on, but not tight. Great. So that just leaves me to remember which the live, the negative and the exciter circuits go on. Right, I'm going to have to consult my drawing. Right, sorry for the harsh light. It's gone kind of, well, it's going dark, and obviously yeah, you've just got to get on with things. Right, so I just had to reconsult the wiring diagram to make sure that I remembered correctly where all the cables are going. I had to take a few close-up photographs downstairs on the alternator to make sure that that's where the cables were going to go. Connect the live, the exciter circuit and the negative onto the alternator. Right, let's dive down. Let's grab the light again. See what, hang on, let's go grab all of these items are in terminal blocks at the moment. I'm sorted. Right, okay, so pink cables, my exciter circuit, red positive, so let's try and get these out without throwing anything down into the bilge, because as I said many times before, if I throw these things down, I'm never going to get them out. Right, so the reason I put these into terminal blocks was so that if I had to run the engine, I didn't run the risk of getting any of the cables in the way or them hitting and shorting circuits out. Right, so that's the live and the exciter circuit. Let's just take those off. So that goes onto B plus, D and B plus. So right, let's dive down and get it sorted. Negative is down here. Let's get the right, those are out the way. Right, okay. You can't really see properly because it's such a harsh light. Let's see if I can do it that way. Oh, I don't know if you can see. Right. Right, where did I put you? Let's not drop you. Okay, you're on. Next up, exciter circuit. I've got to try and remember which one it was. I'm sure it was that one. Or was the one below? Fuck. D plus. Oh, come on. D plus. Okay. Okay, so it goes on to D plus, which is the correct one that I had it on. So let's let those hang loose. Don't drop it, Rob. Okay, good. Exciter circuit on there. Right, okay. Now the live. Okay, where are you, boy? So the live goes onto this one. Okay, there you go. There you go. Live with the fuse. Alright, okay. Right, so they are on. Just want to tidy up the cabling again because it just needs to run away from all the moving parts. So I'm just going to find my tie wraps and position those nicely before I tighten up all the cables. Right. Unfortunately, the camera ran out of juice, as did I. So the final part of the install was to tighten up all of the fixings, check the tension in the belts, do a thorough once over of the workspace, and check the electrical circuit, and finally fire up the engine. I'm happy to report all is working as it should. I'm not going to lie, this refit was difficult. Although I need to remember to remind myself, when I moved aboard Serafina, I made an oath to learn and understand how all of the components worked and combined to give me my wonderful floating home. Above all, I vowed to learn how to maintain all of these systems. And like all good women, Serafina has tested my resolve on a few occasions, and this being one of them. If it were not for the strong support of my close friends and the greater boating community from which I have learnt and laughed, this lifestyle would be very difficult. So a big shout out and thanks go to Wayne and Scott of Beta Marine, Darren at Calrose Marine Engineering, Swery Dan, and last but not least, my chauffeur James. I've been taking note of the suggestions in the comments and will answer them in forthcoming episodes. At the moment, I'm undecided on the next episode. Let me know if you'd like to enjoy a colourful autumn cruise through the tring cutting, or endure me fitting out my new leisure batteries. Lastly, I'm going to leave you with me winding or turning Serafina, just to show you that all is well. Thanks for watching, Rob.